Principle 2. Work at a natural pace. Principle 2 is about something most workplaces rarely acknowledge. Humans do not function well at a fixed mechanical pace. We're told that productivity means keeping a steady output from morning until evening, but that model comes from the factory floor, not from the realities of knowledge work. When you're building ideas, writing code, or making strategic decisions, the process doesn't move along in perfect increments. It comes in cycles, periods of deep attention, followed by natural dips where the mind needs recovery. Treating people like machines erodes the very focus that knowledge work depends on. Back in the industrial age, it made sense to measure by the clock. Each extra hour at a machine meant more products on the line. But that rhythm was imported into office culture wholesale, even after the work shifted from manual to mental. The result is what we see now: standard days packed with video calls, status check-ins, and constant notifications, while employees are still expected to output at peak level for 8 straight hours. Knowledge work simply doesn't operate that way. Ideas incubate slowly, clarity comes in bursts, breakthroughs depend on silence as much as on action. Expecting constant pace guarantees diminishing quality the longer the day drags on. Calendars reveal this mismatch most clearly. Many professionals describe their schedules as walls of back-to-back meetings, with no openings large enough to sustain real thought. Instead of a few protected windows for focus, the day fragments into slivers, each too small to produce meaningful results. 8 virtual meetings in one day might give the impression of motion, but by evening the work that matters most is untouched. A better experiment is to defend at least one meeting-free day each week. Protecting a single block this way creates the conditions for deep concentration, which meetings strung across 5 days systematically prevent. Meanwhile, digital platforms add a second layer of fragmentation. Slack, Teams, and email tick constantly in the background, each demanding quick responses. Even if a meeting ends, attention is rarely free. People end up chained to indicators, green dots and timestamps, meant to show presence instead of progress. Gallup data shows remote workers can be more engaged, but also more distressed, so pacing and boundaries matter. Without downshifts from constant stimulation, energy collapses by the end of the week, leaving skilled professionals spent even when they want to deliver more. Productivity researchers find that output actually shrinks under these nonstop conditions. A designer who spends 2 hours on uninterrupted work often accomplishes more than another who spends a full day pulled between digital chatter and meetings. The explanation is simple: creativity and analysis need immersion. Each disruption resets the mind, forcing it to rebuild momentum from scratch. That's why breakthroughs arrive in rare intervals of focus, not in fragmented slices scattered across the calendar. The most effective rhythm is not steady but pulsed, intense investment followed by deliberate restoration. Making that principle real doesn't require wholesale cultural reform. It starts with smaller visible shifts. Meeting-free days are one. Another change is to establish clear offline hours. For example, choosing a nightly cutoff at 7 p.m. signals that rest is part of the cycle, not an indulgence. The same applies to weekends or designated quiet spans during the day. Boundaries like these normalize recovery as an ingredient of effectiveness rather than a sign of disengagement. When rest is built into a structure, the hours left for concentrated work rise sharply in value. Communication discipline is another lever. Instead of reacting instantly to pings, you batch responses 3 times a day: mid-morning, after lunch, and before signing off. This keeps your deeper projects insulated from constant interference. More importantly, it reframes your reputation. Teams come to expect thoughtful, consolidated feedback rather than fractured replies sent in haste. Ironically, this often makes communication smoother because it mirrors how concentrated thought naturally flows. Even larger cycles follow the same rule. During launches and tight deadlines, intense effort is sometimes unavoidable, but that sprint must resolve into quiet time if it's to be sustainable. The professionals who burn out are the ones who pretend that every week is a sprint. Those who balance phases, allowing recovery to equal effort and importance, are the ones who carry performance forward year after year. Organizations that understand this principle gain from consistency, rather than exhausting people in unpredictable bursts. The psychological challenge is harder than the logistical one. In systems built on constant presence, leaving the desk for a walk feels like slacking. Closing the laptop at 4 after a focused morning feels risky. But comparison reveals the truth. Steady grind produces shallow, error-prone work. Cycles of effort and rest produce originality and accuracy. Since knowledge work is judged on insight and outcomes rather than quantity alone, the higher quality cycle always wins in the long run. For individuals, applying this principle may look like booking blocks of deep work directly into the calendar, treating that time with the same authority as an external meeting, or announcing quiet hours to colleagues so that expectations line up with rhythm rather than fighting it. These steps shift the culture by signaling that availability is not identical to contribution. When practiced regularly, they teach teams to respect energy as a finite resource tied to quality, not an endless reserve to be drained. Taken together, these adjustments make Principle 2 practical and visible. Meeting-free days protect blocks. Offline hours redraw the line between work and recovery. Batch communication shields attention from 1,000 cuts. And deep work sessions anchor energy to projects that actually matter. Each move helps recalibrate time to match how humans naturally operate, not how software and factory models demand. To make it easy, here are 2 micro-practices you can try this week. Cluster your meetings into 2 dedicated days, and protect at least 1 full day as a no-meeting day. Then block 90 to 120-minute deep work sessions during your peak energy hours, following the model many creators use who dedicate Mondays and Fridays to focus while keeping 1 midweek day for meetings. Small patterns like these compound quickly into major changes in energy and output. Respecting natural pace is, therefore, less about slowing down for its own sake and more about rediscovering how humans think best, through cycles that include recovery as non-negotiable. The result is not a withdrawal from productivity, but an increase in its quality. And once you recognize that daily structure flourishes in pulses rather than linear grind, it's easier to see a bigger pattern emerging, one that operates not just over hours or days, but across whole stretches of time. Seasonality as a superpower. Seasonality as a superpower begins with one overlooked truth. Humans are built to work in rhythms, not in flat, unbroken stretches of effort. The agricultural world understood this long before offices and digital tools arrived. Farmers didn't dig fields every day of the year. They followed seasons of planting, tending, harvesting, and resting. That simple pattern preserved the soil and preserved the farmers too. What mattered wasn't constant action, but aligning the right kind of work with the right moment in the cycle. Somewhere along the way, modern work culture erased that rhythm and replaced it with the expectation of permanent, uniform output. Look at how most knowledge work operates now. Urgent requests arrive every month of the year, regardless of whether a project is in an early exploratory phase or past its critical deadlines. Notifications land at night, on weekends, even during supposed holiday breaks. Many jobs treat every week with equal intensity, even when some phases should demand less. Instead of differentiating between planting and harvest seasons, everything becomes urgent. That lack of natural pacing leaves no room to recover, and the result is exhaustion disguised as dedication. Social platforms amplify the pressure. News streams, recommendations, and trending insights appear every minute, throwing signals of urgency into every season. These feeds don't respect phases of rest. They imply that each day is a sprint for relevance and awareness. The pressure to always stay caught up creates the feeling that slowing down leaves you behind. The consequence is professionals running in permanent harvest mode, pushing at maximum effort year-round, even though human energy isn't designed for that. When every day is treated as equally critical, people burn out early, and the quality of what they produce declines long before the year is through. This is why reintroducing seasonality into work can be a genuine advantage. Seasonal productivity is not about working half the year and quitting the rest. It's about allocating different kinds of energy to different stretches of time. In practice, this means planning blocks for deep, concentrated effort and pairing them with predictable phases for recovery, exploration, or lighter maintenance. Just as soil can't be farmed continuously without going fallow, the human mind cannot produce at its best without rotation. Respecting cycles builds stamina and allows output to sustain itself. A direct way to put this into practice is through 90-day cycles. Try 90-day cycles, quarterly sprints, for one major priority, and treat the following quarter as a lighter season for iteration or learning. This mirrors the seasonal productivity pattern described in the research. In that focused block, pick 1 to 2 central objectives and shape everything else around them. When the cycle ends, instead of immediately launching into another sprint, deliberately shift to tasks that are less demanding but still valuable, such as mentoring, skill building, or shaping future goals. That balance preserves energy for the next deep push. This approach clarifies attention. You no longer ask in the middle of the year, "What should I prioritize now?" The season decides for you. In focus cycles, larger goals dominate. In lighter cycles, reflection and recovery guide the agenda. Just as important, it removes guilt. People often feel nervous when they aren't firing at full intensity, even if they need to slow down. By framing recovery as part of the plan, you legitimize rest as fuel for the next surge rather than treating it as lost time. Consider a practical case. A policy analyst chooses January through March as a deep focus season to complete a highly influential report. During this time, nearly everything revolves around advancing that single document, data work, drafting, refinement, while smaller obligations are minimized. By April, the paper is complete and ready for use. The next 3 months shift into a lighter phase centered on mentoring juniors, attending events, and exploring ideas more widely. Without the deliberate change, the analyst might chase all of these side tasks while still writing the paper, cutting down its quality and overwhelming themselves. Seasonality transforms the workload into purposeful stages instead of a blur of demands. Teams can benefit from the same cycle. Many technology groups already operate quarterly but often mistake that timing as ceremonial reporting rather than conscious rhythm. By treating each quarter as distinct, one sprints on a feature, another cleans up bugs and balances systems, the team avoids trying to do everything at once. The predictability gives people something to aim for and something to rest within. Schools have long recognized this principle with semesters and breaks, but workplaces often ignore it entirely. Simple cycles can restore that balance. This rhythm also acts as a filter. Without seasonality, every request feels equally urgent. With it, you can assign new tasks to align with the cycle. If a priority surfaces during an intense stretch but doesn't fit that cycle's goals, you send it to the next lighter window. Nothing disappears, it simply waits its turn. This discipline prevents shallow, scattered shifts of attention while still acknowledging that new ideas or opportunities matter. Timing decides when to apply energy, rather than indiscriminately scattering it. Over time, living and working seasonally brings visible patterns of progress. Instead of 12 months of continuous busyness, you can point to specific cycles where one major achievement was delivered, and to other cycles where ideas were developed or recovery was emphasized. This builds a sense of momentum because you track progress in meaningful increments, not just in vague hours worked. The story of your year becomes structured, and that structure sustains motivation. To make it actionable, treat each major project as a deep focus season and build guardrails around it. Plan one deep 90-day objective, publicize it to your team, protect 2 meeting-free days per week during that quarter, and intentionally schedule a lighter learning month after the delivery. The public commitment sets expectations. The meeting-free days protect actual doing, and the lighter month prevents sliding back into non-stop strain. Each step works in sync to make the seasonal rhythm real, not just theoretical. Skeptics might argue that professional life doesn't wait for your ideal rhythm. Emergencies still happen, clients and managers still push. But seasonality isn't about ignoring reality, it's about placing a default pattern underneath it. When urgency strikes, it's absorbed into a system that already values cycles, meaning you know how to recover and reset afterward. The alternative, constant urgency everywhere, leaves no framework for pacing and leads directly to collapse. Seasonality doesn't eliminate pressure, it organizes it. The payoff is visible at all levels. Individuals maintain high standards without draining themselves into mediocrity. Teams operate with clearer priorities, making their sprints feel like sprints, not marathons run daily. Organizations gain durability because their people can re-engage after lighter phases, instead of slowly burning out and disengaging. Seasonal productivity converts scattered intensity into directed progress that is actually sustainable. Reclaiming this rhythm demands more self-discipline than it seems. It requires saying no to extra projects squeezed into a heavy phase, trusting that a lighter season will provide space later. It requires resisting the temptation to fill every spare moment, even in recovery stretches, with more quick wins. And it requires resisting the stream of online signals whispering that every week must deliver headlines. But those who respect the cycle discover that their output becomes steadier, sharper, and more valuable. In the end, treating time seasonally protects work from blending into endless strain. It builds natural endpoints, encourages filtering, and allows you to measure progress in meaningful cycles. Doing so rewires productivity away from nonstop busyness and toward deliberate, sustainable achievement. It gives you more than energy. It restores the chance to create at levels you can actually maintain. And when your rhythm is stable, you're in a far better position to think critically about not just how much you produce, but what kind of work deserves the focus you give it next. Principle 3. Obsess over quality. Principle 3 is about resisting the pull of speed and appearances to focus instead on quality. In environments filled with instant notifications, fast outputs, and short-term applause, it's easy to believe that constant activity is progress. But quantity rarely compounds over time in the way that high-quality contributions do. What people remember months or years later are the fewer but stronger pieces of work that outlast quick bursts of relevance. Open any social platform and the pattern is obvious. Quick posts earn likes and reactions in hours, giving their creators the feeling of momentum. The thrill is real, but the impact often evaporates just as quickly. By contrast, a thorough analysis, a polished design, or a durable product doesn't rack up its influence immediately. Instead, these are the kinds of outputs people return to long after the first wave of attention fades. The tension between chasing fast signals versus producing lasting results has become one of the central conflicts in modern careers. The problem deepens because the system itself sends mixed messages. Day to day, professionals are rewarded for visible speed, constant updates, quick fixes, and frequent deliverables. Those metrics keep you looking busy, yet promotions, credibility, and long-term success tend to go to the people who create processes, products, or ideas that truly last. That duality means you can either aim for volume and shallow wins, or risk looking slow while building something durable. Balancing between the two requires not only intention, but the confidence to resist applause for activity. Take a marketing example. One professional floods social channels with quick posts, staying visible every day. Another spends weeks developing a thorough campaign that unfolds strategically. The first looks busy, but their results vanish as quickly as they're posted. The second looks slower, but their work shapes impressions and engages customers long after launch. Over a career, the comprehensive efforts carry more weight. In technology, the same divide appears. Developers get recognized when they squash bugs quickly, but the real leap happens when someone redesigns a system to prevent an entire category of bugs in the future. One creates speed signals, the other creates enduring value. The misconception is thinking that pursuing quality requires endless time. This is where Newport's insight matters. Much of the difference between good and great is an extra 2 to 4 weeks of effort beyond the functional draft. Research-backed examples in the background material highlight that this modest polish window is often what transforms outputs from forgettable to influential. The real discipline is not to delay endlessly, but to dedicate that bounded time to raising a project above baseline. That's why attaching a ritual to quality work helps. After the first functional draft or prototype, set a fixed 2 to 4 week polish window. During that time, you don't restart the project, you refine it. You check data carefully, improve interface details, test, gather targeted feedback, and clean up weaknesses. At the end of that set time, you stop and ship. This practice helps sidestep 2 traps at once: the shallow rush to send something unfinished, and the perfectionist loop of polishing forever. Consider the case of a company preparing a proposal. The one-day version ticks a box, but lacks credibility. the perfectionist overextends in endless revisions, never quite satisfied enough to send. But under a 2 to 4 week polish rule, the draft moves fast to functional, then receives a period of sharp refinement. At the deadline, the proposal is strong enough to stand out, but doesn't consume months of diminishing returns. Using this structure repeatedly builds a cadence: functional first, polish second, delivery third. This ritual creates a compounding advantage. Each polished project stands out in ways rushed outputs can't, and these stronger pieces begin to define how colleagues, clients, and managers view your work. Over months or years, the pattern builds a reputation, not for surface-level activity, but for results that matter. When people recall your name, they tie it to the durable contributions. The small daily tasks, though endless, rarely shape memory or reputation in the same way. The side effect is confidence. Once you've seen that polished projects generate stronger results, it becomes easier to resist the constant pull of shallow work. You recognize small tasks as necessities, but not as the pillars of your career. Instead, you divide attention consciously. Maintenance goes into quick responses, but your reputation is invested in the few stronger efforts you elevate with the polish window. That balance provides both momentum and durability. In practice, the approach looks modest, but pays off quickly. A researcher prioritizes 1 article per quarter, polishes it for relevance and clarity, and sends it out, rather than rushing 4 shallow pieces. A designer commits to finishing 2 major features each cycle to a higher standard, rather than releasing a string of rushed add-ons. In each case, the pace appears slower, but the visible quality creates more impact, opening more opportunities. Another reason to obsess over quality is the compounding value of reference work. Once you've completed a strong report, campaign, or system, it often becomes a touchpoint reused or referenced again and again. Shallow work rarely gets revisited. Quality work extends its influence beyond the moment of creation, multiplying its effect over time while you've already moved on to the next priority. In this way, quality buys you leverage. The challenge is cultural. Reward systems and organizations still track visible activity more than long-term impact. That makes chasing quality feel risky because you won't look as productive early on. Yet this is precisely where strategic alignment pays off. By communicating priorities clearly, here's the core project, here's the timeline, here's when polish ends. You align expectations and prevent the appearance of slowness. Managers and teams benefit because they see both a plan and a delivery schedule, and the higher quality outcomes justify the trust. Taken seriously, obsessing over quality is less about artistic perfection and more about controlled investment. You're not stretching into unbounded months of tweaking. You're trading a modest window of refinement for results that travel further, last longer, and build a stronger reputation. In a world overloaded with constant updates, this shift looks simple, but becomes a major differentiator.